Hello everyone. On behalf of Laura, Mia, and myself, welcome to week 11. It's the first week of our collaborative inquiries. We hope you'll enjoy the topic we selected to explore, which is reflection. Collaborative inquiry involves, quote, repeated episodes of reflection and action, the notion of a group of inquirers who are truly peers, and the inquiry question, end quote. Having worked together in the past, the three of us were comfortable with one another, trusted each other, and were excited to work on this project and presentation as a team. With an optimum co-researcher and peer environment established, our first goal was to determine a question of importance to us all. Bray et al. Explains, quote, the two basic principles regarding the question are that A, the inquirers can explore it through their own experience, and B, every member of the inquiry is equal relative to the others in terms of his or her ability to address the question, end quote. We use these two principles to guide our first brainstorming session. Initial efforts yielded sparse results, so we decided to allow organic conversation to guide us towards our question. We talked about our lives, our goals, our concerns, and our journey through the OLL program thus far. Finally, after considerable reflection and many modifications, our question emerged. How do we encourage an OLL student to experience authentic, intentional reflection? Step 2 will reveal more about how we formulated this topic for inquiry. Our dialogue led us into a discussion about the philosophy and mission of the OLL program, with one of the marketed expectations being, quote, effective use of critical thinking and reflection in problem solving, end quote. Dr. Kilge, our program director, states, quote, we believe that critical thinking allows leaders to become more factually and contextually aware by engaging them in a comprehensive exploration of issues, ideas, and events before accepting or formulating an opinion. We believe that both reflection and critical thinking form the basis of leadership because these allow the leader to learn, thus move from a position of unawareness or lesser awareness to higher awareness. Rich insights emerge from deep reflection and analysis, end quote. As our group has progressed through the past 2 semesters, we acknowledge the need for and the importance of continual reflection. However, with the challenges of balancing school with work, family, and other commitments, we often worry if we are properly and adequately reflecting on the program's reading material and other content. We agreed that participating in discussion board and assignments alone would not allow us to get the most out of the OLL program, meet its intent, or develop our full potential as leaders. It was this line of thinking that led us to develop the first draft of our question of inquiry. How can an OLL student experience meaningful reflection in order to gain knowledge and enhance the learning experience? Raylan suggests, quote, without the medium of relationships, reflection can be impotent and hollow, lacking the genuine discourse necessary for thoughtful and in-depth behavioral change, end quote. Our team devised a plan to carry out the collaborative inquiry on an abbreviated timeline, which included meeting on Google Hangouts at least 3 times a week and daily correspondence via iPhone. Meetings were planned for 30-minute increments, but we often lost track of time discussing not only our collaborative inquiry, but the current topics of discussion in both of our courses as well. We soon realized that we were inadvertently engaging in public reflection. Raylan asserts, quote, it is public reflection that is the key to unlocking the learning from project-based learning. Further, it is this public form of reflection that can enhance learning beyond the project or team level to other levels of experience, individual, organization, and society. Reflection of this form is necessarily associated with learning dialogues. Rather than constituting an exchange of statements of points of view, dialogues surface in the presence of trusting peers, end quote. We agreed to continue public reflection throughout our process as part of the inquiry, but also set parameters for deliberate individual reflection. For our individual practice of reflection, we committed to 30 minutes a day. Periods of reflection were intended to be uninterrupted and divided into no less than 15-minute increments. We agreed to report back to the team about our experiences in subsequent meetings. Mia discovered that silence and solitude work best to maximize the effectiveness of her reflective process. She disengaged from all electronics and distractions, enabling the Do Not Disturb function on her iPhone. She found that note-taking while reflecting helped her to capture her thoughts and allowed her the opportunity to return to them and reflect further upon certain ideas in future sessions. My initial plan for reflection entailed multitasking. I planned to engage in reflective practice while driving and while dining alone in my new city. I soon discovered that this DMV traffic and the aggressive drivers, GPS, and excessive rain would sabotage my efforts to reflect in my car. In fact, it turned out to be quite dangerous. Attempting to reflect in public places, such as restaurants or on the metro, turned out to be just as worthless. There were simply too many distractions to maintain my train of thought. Ultimately, I only found success when I adhered to the practices Mia shared with the group. Laura, too, found that individual reflection worked best for her in an environment with limited distraction, although Texas driving conditions made her attempts at roadway reflection slightly safer. The entire team discovered that they could make time for deliberate reflection once they prioritized it and set aside specific blocks of time. Journaling proved to be an excellent and highly effective method of self-reflection for the entire team. We felt more prepared to participate in public reflection together and planning for our presentation after having dedicated personal reflection time beforehand. The team's observations and discoveries about personal reflection reminded me of a speech given at West Point by author William Darowitz concerning solitude and leadership. In his address, he proclaims, quote, "Multitasking, in short, is not only not thinking, it impairs your ability to think. Thinking means concentrating on one thing long enough to develop an idea about it. Not learning other people's ideas or memorizing a body of information, however much those may sometimes be useful. Developing your own ideas. In short, thinking for yourself. You simply cannot do that in bursts of 20 seconds at a time, constantly interrupted by Facebook messages or Twitter tweets or fiddling with your iPod or watching something on YouTube." End quote. Darowitz's words reinforce what our team found to be true during the individual reflection portion of our collaborative inquiry. Our best thinking and our most valuable ideas surfaced in solitude and quiet, with deliberate reflection. Bray explains that inquirers often modify their question of inquiry as they move along the collaborative inquiry process and arrive at a clear idea of what it is that they truly wish to learn about. Such was the case during our collaborative inquiry process. Each time we met, we found that our experiences and personal reflections provided insight and clarification that made our inquiry more clear and more defined. We know that the question would evolve even further if we were to continue our inquiry. As it turns out, there have been countless studies which have supported the practice of reflection in education, specifically adult education. Self-assessment tools such as learning journals were found to increase retention and understanding of content. Another study found that, at a certain point, reflecting on learning is more beneficial for self-efficacy and task understanding than additional experience with the subject. And it has been discovered that adult educators who engage in and model critical reflection for their students effectively influence their students' skills of reflection. Here we've listed some of the outcomes of our collaborative inquiry. Mezirow differentiates andragogy from pedagogy by illustrating an adult's ability to make meaning of their experiences and their knowledge gained. Adults have a higher propensity for transformational learning because they can be taught to, quote, critically reflect on, appropriately validate, and effectively act on their and others' beliefs, interpretations, values, feelings, and ways of thinking, end quote. Autonomous thinking, which Mezirow considers both a goal of and method used in andragogy, can be achieved through transformative learning such as our team's collaborative inquiry. Although we wish we would have had a longer period of time to conduct our collaborative inquiry, we feel strongly that we all learned a significant amount from the experience. If allotted more time, we would most likely engage in various types of reflection, such as keeping a learning journal, as well as critically reflecting in a more diverse array of settings. As always, thank you for your time and attention. We look forward to having you become part of our collaborative inquiry as you reflect upon our presentation and offer critiques.